welcome to this week's episode of Work the Left Side. I am joined by a crusader who will try and save us all, but I think he's realised we're not worth saving, but wrestling is. It's Mr. William Valour. How we going, mate? You all right?
I'm doing good, thanks, man. Thanks for having me on.
No, dude, it's a pleasure. Thank you for coming on and having a chat with us. Yeah, I mean, again, I seem to be talking to a lot of guys that are, been around for a few years, kind of, you're getting out there, sort of seeing you popping up in a few places, and I know it's going to get wider and wider, sort of exposure. And yeah, it's just good times. I think within British wrestling, there seems to be a whole wealth of guys and girls coming through who are just incredibly talented.
It's mental, man. It's mental. Like, British wrestling's never been more popular, I don't think. Like, you see guys now like Leon Slater, you see guys like Man like Derice, and they're popping up in America, they're popping up in Mexico, they're popping up on AEW. Like, British wrestling's just soaring at the minute. I love it.
It's crazy, isn't it? But I think I've had this conversation with a few people, but it just seems to be a lot more positivity within British wrestling now, like the locker rooms, but it's also within people working together. You all sort of seem to be helping each other out, or realizing it makes sense to elevate each other, because it just gets more eyes, on the product, which means more eyes on you guys.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, the stuff that we're doing at the moment in time, like down at PPW, like it's kind of like one of those misfit families. Like, we've just all come together because we all love this one thing called wrestling, and it's just mental. Like, there's just everybody trying to help everybody. We're all just trying to elevate each other up and try and get each other out as many places as possible. Like you said, just get some eyes on the prize.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, obviously, it was going to come up at some point. Pursuit. Anybody who watches this channel will have. I mentioned to you before recording. There's definitely been a pattern over the last couple of months of people that I've spoken to, and all of them are within. I've been through or train at, or I've worked PPW shows. And yeah, you hit the head. I think it was Felicia or Alex that sort of says, like the whole Pursuit people, like just the trainees, classmates, whatever the terminology is. You're just like a bunch of misfits that have come together and formed this family.
Yeah, it's mental. Like, there's guys over there that's just started. There's guys that's been there in the game for multiple years. Like Axel, he's been doing it now about maybe 6 years. Obviously, Leon's been doing it since he was like, I don't know, 10. Like, mental. Like, I wish I knew that we were wrestling schools about when I was 10 years old. Like, it's crazy. And you've got these guys just with different knowledges and different skills and different ways of doing stuff, all just coming together and just teaching you how to do different bits. And it's mint. I love it.
That's it. That's what's kind of going back to earlier about, just helping each other out. It just sort of seemed it's very close knit within the training environment, that you can all lean on each other, or you can rely on each other. Like, if something's not right, they'll tell you, and then just be like, look, maybe just change this or do that, instead of just being like saying everything's spot on, not being afraid to just be like, look, try this, try that. And it's all trusted advice.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it just comes like from, like I said, from their experience. Like, if they don't feel like something's working right, they'll come up and say, okay, have you thought about trying something a little bit different, or trying something like this? And for me, who's only been in it 2.5 years, something like that, the guys like Ellis Barker and guys like Leon and guys like Liam himself coming up and saying, have you thought about trying this? Have you thought about doing this with your character? And it's just helping me develop even more and getting comfortable with the wrestler I want to be.
I think that's one thing that I'm kind of drawn to Pursuit, is it does seem there's a lot of characters there. And I'm old school. I love like the Attitude Era stuff where it was kind of less charactery, but part of me I still love characters in wrestling. I love, that kind of just OTT. And there's some awesome characters coming through Pursuit. But I think it's because you guys have got the freedom to develop the character but then you also got, you know, like say wise heads kind of pointing you in the right direction or giving you a hint of what to do with the character.
Yeah, absolutely. I think the great thing about PPW is obviously that they have the facility to do so. Like, it's not just like a bunch of weights in a wrestling ring where you just go in and train and whatnot. They have the opportunity and the facility to help you do promos, to help you build characters, to help just sit down and try and work out what type of character you want to be and what you want to portray. And that's something I found difficult to begin with. Like, I didn't know who I wanted to be. I knew who I wanted to emulate, but not as a character myself. I was just a guy who loved wrestling that just wanted to get in there and wrestle.
That's it. I mean, well, we'll talk about the character because obviously we talk about character development. So, yeah, the whole William Valour, the Saviour of was that something? Was that your sort of mindset from day one, or was that character kind of developed through trial and error? You know, was you something beforehand and then it kind of evolved into this, or?
Yeah, it's kind of like evolved into it, to be honest. Like, to be honest, the name William Valour was given to me. So initially I wanted to be called William Knight, but obviously there's the whole Knight family, so obviously I was like, maybe you should try something a little bit different. And the name William Valour got given to me because it's like, oh, you'll be a Knight of Valor. You'll stand for the just and everything else. And it was like one of those really babyface type of names, and it just kind of went down like the heelish route because the babyface route didn't really feel like me.
Yeah.
And then it kind of got into watching guys like Bray Wyatt, like Aleister Black doing his House of Black stuff, and going down that cultish route, which was really fun to do for the time that I did it. And then it kind of like grew into something else. Like, it's now become like, rather than like I'm a cultist leader that's trying to save everybody, it's kind of now like I'm the professional. I'm the professional William Valour, and that I've come to agree that I'm just better than everybody else. Like, nobody can touch me wrestling wise. It's not true, but still,
if you
like,
believe it, it's true.
I believe it though, and I'll prove it to anybody. But it's just one of them ones. Like, it just came as like, what do I love doing? I love wrestling. I love technical wrestling. I love getting gritty with it. I love submissions and watching guys like Regal and Zack Sabre Jr. and Gresham and those type of guys, like those, like especially Regal. Like, Regal's top tier for me. So that's what I wanted to emulate, and that's what I want to show in my wrestling, that it's you can be a heel, but you can also work a style that's kind of beautiful and technical in itself.
Definitely. Again, I don't know how far back, you know, when you started wrestling and or X, Y, and Z, but we do something on here where myself and James Carr from True Grit, we're going through 1997 and watching the pay-per-views from 1997. And also we're watching a lot of WCW ones, but at that point it was like Dean Malenko versus Eddie Guerrero, and Malenko's just gone heel, but technically the dude's just working beautiful matches. But you know, as a heel,
like, there's watching Malenko matches is like, it just flows, man. It's like everything's on point. There's no wasted motion. Like, even his way that he works around in the ring, like, it's just on a different level. Same with Guerrero, to be honest. And again, like, those guys technically can't touch them.
So I'm glad you mentioned Regal because again, I don't know. I'll just make you, if you're not aware of it, it's definitely something worth checking out. I mentioned to somebody else previously, but the William Regal did like a podcast for a few months before he left AEW, kind of thing. It was just interviews with a villain or something like that. It was called. I can't remember exactly. But it was funny because it spent like the first 30 minutes just going off on about something, just about wrestling. It's like one episode he spent like 30 minutes just having a rant about pinfalls, you know, the importance of a good pinfall, how people don't do it right, and you know, this, that, and the other. But it's just the little bits that you kind of like, as a trainee, if I was listening to it, I'd be like, I need to listen to this podcast just for these like 30-minute rants.
Yeah.
Just, you know, pick stuff up. Because I've never looked at a pinfall the same since listening to that kind of thing. And yeah, it's kind of like, if you're not trying to win the match. If you're not doing a good pinfall, you know, it's suspension of disbelief. You're not trying to win the match.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's one of those things that you don't think about. Like when you watch wrestling, you don't think about how the guy pins or the way that he does it, just as long as he gets there. And with Regal, like that's important to him because that is how you win. Like if you're not putting your weight into it, if you're not putting your hips into it, then you're not going to get a pin. You're not going to get him down, and essentially it's going to look a bit naff, and you don't want that.
But it's like, you know, you say it seems really obvious, but I've never even thought about it before. Like you said, you don't, as a fan, or you know, maybe even as a wrestler, it's not something that you think about because you think about everything that comes before the pinfall. The pinfall seems like a really minor detail, but since listening to that, since it was pointed out to me, I'm just like, fuck, it's kind of ruined it a little bit now because I'm like looking at stuff like, oh damn it, I wish I wasn't even, you know, looking at that. But I can't even imagine. That's just me as a fan. As somebody, you know, in the business as a trainee, yeah, but are you still able to watch as a fan, or do you just find yourself sat there just critiquing stuff?
I'm always 50-50 with it, to be honest, man. Like I think once you peek behind the curtain and see it from a trainee standpoint, your whole view is a bit different. But because you're like, well, that messed up, or that timing's off, or they're talking about doing the next spot or something like that. And you just pick up on it. You just start seeing stuff, which does like suspense belief really. But when you get really into a match, like I know you went down to All In this past weekend.
Not me. No? It was Ash who runs the Instagram page. He went. I didn't, unfortunately. I didn't have the pleasure.
All right, sorry, my dude. No worries.
Sorry.
But I went down and I watched the match, and even as a fan, like I'm just sat there and I'm like, my God, this is amazing. Just the way the entrances that they came out, the way that they're building the crowd up, and you forget that you are a trainee and that you've learned how to do all this. You become a fan again, and still now when I'm watching matches, like I'll pop for the smallest things or even the silliest things will give me a pop. Especially like watching guys like Axel and Posty Malone and Kemper. Like Kemper on the last PPW show popped me massively, mainly because he's a 6'5" dude who did a coast to coast.
A Van Kempenator. I called it the Van Kempenator.
Van Kempenator, what a brilliant name. Like I had no idea that would come in. And I stood off my seat and cheered because that was mental. And you just become a fan all over again. It's brilliant.
Yeah, I think that speaks volumes for the people involved or the matches you're watching. The fact it can be like, you know, you just at first you'll be like, no, I'm watching, I'm studying, but then you just get so emotionally involved, it just sucks you in, and you're just a fan again. You know what I mean? It just makes you a fan.
Yeah, man, absolutely.
That just speaks volumes for, you know, the matches. It's like when you're watching a film, I suppose. Obviously, you know, when you're watching a film, you know, everything's make believe. But if the film's good, you know, it's like I watched Guardians 3 the other day, and I was like, it must have been dusty because there's something wrong with my eyes by the end of the film. But it's like, you know, a CGI raccoon has made me feel this way. But it's pulled you in.
Yeah, it's mental. It's weird, and it's one of those ones like even like some of the stuff like even guys that you've never met, guys that you've never known, like watching the Bray Wyatt tribute show and watching Brody Lee's tribute show and stuff like that. It's like I never knew the guy, never met the guy, but it's one of them ones. They invoke an emotion in you, and it's just one of them ones like you kind of feel a bit of a connection, and I think it's just because again we all love wrestling. That's what it is.
I was going to say, especially, I mean, as a fan, we've got that connection, but it must be like a little bit more for you guys because even though you never met these people, you don't know these people, you know for a fact you've got that one thing in common, you know, that one bond, which if you ever did meet them, that's an automatic bond, you know, for start a conversation. You love wrestling enough to do this to yourself, and that's craziness. You know, it's awesome, but yeah, it must be emotionally mental.
It's mental, man. I think it's one of them ones like when it all comes down to it, we do this thing called wrestling. What do? We purposely throw ourselves at the ground hard, and it's just one of the ones like, why do you do it? It hurts. Like you saw, you get hurt, you get injured, and it's like, because we love it. There's no other way around it. It's just because it's something that we love.
Right, I'm going to that kind of segues me into the generic box, the generic portion of the show. So yes, wrestling, this thing that we all love. How did you fall in love with it? Was it something you started watching as a kid, as a teenager? Did you watch it when you was younger, then stop for a few years when you was in high school, and then get back into it?
No, man. To be honest, like I've been watching wrestling since sort of 5 years old. My granddad watched it with me in his house. We watched old school wrestling. We watched World of Sport, and there's never been a time where I've dropped out of wrestling. I may have got bored with the product. So like if I always used to watch WWE, WWF, obviously when I was a kid, and then going through that Attitude Era and into like the PG eras, like I kind of dropped off on that bit. But then like TNA came on British television, and I'm like, what's this? Like, I've never seen this before. This is mint. And then you start going down different avenues. Like you watch your Ring of Honors. Like I got massively into US independents, like PWG, Dragon Gate, that type of stuff. And then you start learning more about British stuff. Like you've got Regal, but like I said, I only started 2.5 years ago. I wish, obviously, I knew there were wrestling schools close by when I was 14. And you start looking at like guys like Progress and ICW and Southside when that's still about 1PW and just how a plethora of talent came through it and still is in it and where they are now. And some of them guys are on shows that we go to, and it's just mental.
Yeah, shout out to Southside. It's nice for somebody to remember them. Used to be one of my favourite promotions. When I first got into British wrestling like 10 plus years ago, there was Southside, NGW, PCW, and then like the other big, like the bit slightly bigger ones. But those three for me were like my key promotions that I could get to. And yeah, I love Southside. I thought Southside was amazing, so shout out to them. Ben, who ran it, just did some amazing matches. I remember, seeing guys like Jigsaw. My mind's just gone totally blank. I can't even think of the name. I can't think of his name. It'll come back to me at some point. But that's going to bug the crap out of me. Jay White. Jay White. Anyway, sorry, dude. I'm just totally gone on the sidebar there. But yeah, just the amount of talent, like say, kicking around at that point. And we're saying it's better now than it was then, which I think, is mental. Well, I think it's different now than it was then. I think that was a massive boom period, but I think it's 10 times better now than it was then for a lot more reasons.
Absolutely. I mean, there's obviously a lot going on in British wrestling. That time was a boom period. Obviously, they had amazing talent come up from the US. You had amazing talent in the UK, and then obviously, as things do, there's peaks and troughs. It goes down, it goes up. It's a bit of a roller coaster ride. But British wrestling, as it is now, like is definitely on that up. And you've got guys going everywhere. You've got Michael Oku, who's been in PWG and going to New Japan. You've got man like Darius, who's over in GCW. You've got Leon Slater, who's in Mexico in GCW. You've got guys from PPW themselves, Ellis Parker, Nathan Black, Kemper, all going down to Mexico to do some stuff with IPW Lucha Libre. I mean, that's just mental to think about, like that they're actually getting to work in another country, that they're recognized and they're respected for what they can do, that somebody in a different country wants to promote them and use them. And I'm proud of all of them because they're just mental and they're just such nice lads and great to get along with. So I'm super happy for them all. And that's where I want to be at some point. I want to get to that point.
I think you're obviously at the right place. Apologies, I kind of totally got myself into a fuzz a couple of minutes ago. We mentioned Southside, I got overly excited and just totally broke the chain of conversation. Obviously, we was talking about how you got into wrestling fan. Yeah, so TNA, British Wrestling. And then, so at what point did you think, right, okay, now I'm going to go learn how to do it?
I think it came to the point where it's like I was looking at well, I've been a fan for all this time. I've got to try and see if I can do it. I've got to see if I can actually prove to myself that I can actually do this thing that I love doing. And it came to trying to look for local promoters or local wrestling. And the other ones that I did know about at the time was Future Shock and Johnny Moss's school in Cumbria. And those were the two that I knew about. So I didn't really know there was anything local to myself. So I'm a Barnsley guy. I'm obviously going to Rotherham, Sheffield area. And it just so happened that one of the lads I know says, "Oh, there's a wrestling school in Rotherham. It's 20 minutes from my house." I'm like, "That's mental." So I had to go down and check it out, and it turned out to be EBW, Elite British Wrestling. And that's where I kind of had my start, getting trained by Andy Hogg, Mikey Van Riot, Dave DeVille, Dave Stewart, Bacon, and just all these guys that been on the British indie scene for a while, and was there for about 6 months to maybe a year. Obviously helped out on their shows. They ran monthly shows in and around Rotherham and Sheffield, and then that kind of shut down when COVID happened. And just so happened while scrolling from my phone during COVID, just this new promotion starting up in Sheffield, being PPW, was done by Liam Slater. It's I knew Slater from watching him on WCPW when they were doing their YouTube shows, and they came to Sheffield doing their shows and whatnot. I'm like, that's mint. I can get to train with somebody who's been up and down country for 10 years. And it's just one of them ones where it's just lit a fire under me again. I loved wrestling, I loved training, I loved the guys I trained with at EBW, and now getting to train with the guys at PPW is just pushed me to that next level where I want to be.
That's it. Obviously, again, just a random mention of Mikey Van Riot. Shout out to Mikey. Love that guy. I think he's awesome. He's recently helped me with the Chris Travis tribute episode. So massive shout out to Mikey. I'm gonna pop anytime anybody mentions him. But yeah, EPW. Obviously, Aiden Sparks would have come from there as well. So there's probably a few guys at PPW that you would have known from there, or that would have come up afterwards, or slightly, just beforehand.
Yeah, absolutely. Guys like Aiden Sparks, obviously he's an EBW lifer, he was there for ages. Mikey obviously kind of initiated me into EBW. He was the one that got me on my first show with them. And then you've got guys like Axel the Clown. Obviously he was there beforehand. Alan Kay, again, another guy that was there for ages, and a guy that I would always go to for advice about anything in terms of wrestling. And yeah, it's just funny seeing these guys that kind of I started with now progressing and moving on with PPW, and just seeing them on a weekly basis. It's like I never left. It's just brilliant.
That's awesome. But it's like anything. It's when you go somewhere new, it's always still nice to see familiar faces. Kind of reassures you and makes you feel a little bit happier. So, but yeah, PPW. I should say, again, Alan Kay, what a guy. Recently had the pleasure of, last weekend I had the pleasure of seeing him and Joe versus Ace and Wing Commander Nash, or Nash Boat, as they are now known, at True Grit. But yeah, that's the thing. It's I'm seeing a lot of guys from PPW, just turn it up on promotions. Within the radius is getting bigger and bigger of where you guys are kind of going. I don't think it's any coincidence that it's through the quality. That's just pursuit itself. You guys getting trained up so well that you are going to be in demand.
Yeah, man, it's one of them ones. I think obviously the like I said, the talent and the training that we get, especially from Slater and obviously the coaches that he brings in every now and then, like I know we're getting Nathan Cruz in a couple of weeks. We've had Kid Lycos 2. We've had Red Scorpion from Italy, which was great. I know they've just had Sam Bailey down, and just the reason obviously that these guys are getting onto more shows and progressing so much is because of that training that we're getting and being able to progress as characters and progress as wrestlers. And seeing, like I said, this is what I want to emulate. I want to be able to get up there. I want to be on that level and succeed that level. I want to be able to be on True Grit. I want to be able to be on Tidal. I want to be on Rise. I want to be up in North and wrestle anybody and everybody that I can.
That's it. I mean, honestly, hand on heart, not blowing smoke, but I think, within 12 months, you'll find that, just the radius of shows you're working is just going to go up, dude, because why would it not? You've got a really good character. I'd love to see you in Rise. I think the Valour character in Rise would be mint. But I think it would work anywhere as well. That's the good thing about the character. I think you could go into any promotion and automatically get eyes.
Yeah, I appreciate that, man. I really do. Like, I'd love to be in Rise. I've always played with the idea of, like, because they do have obviously that lot of, like, deathmatch wrestling, which I'd love to try myself. In all honesty, like, I think it'd be really cool. But I like the character idea of, like, well, I'm the professional. I'm above all this. It's like, yeah. I don't need to do death matches, and then it just ends up me being in death matches anyway.
That's what I was just thinking. You rock it up and be like, nah, not doing this. I'm too good for this.
And it's like, oh, you'll go up against this deathmatch guy, and he's going to put you in a deathmatch. I'm like, oh, great. I was like, I'm trying to stop all this. I'm trying to make it better. But that's obviously like just the character-wise where I'd love to go with it. And at some point, I'll probably get to talk to Danny and the deathmatch guys and see if that's a possibility and whatnot. But it's just about showing my face at the moment of time, getting people to know who I am and what I can do, and just getting my name out there.
Exactly. Obviously, I spoke to Jay Vertigo the other day, and I've not really talked about this much with other people, but it's something that I do kind of want to discuss more and more now when it comes to wrestling, because it's not just what you're doing in the ring. It's not just about the training, cutting the promos. A massive part of wrestling now is definitely social media. So you kind of found that you need to be a bit more on the ball when it comes to like your Twitter or your Instagram, or just getting yourself out. It's self-promotion.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, in all fairness, like my main stuff is on Instagram. Like I've barely used Twitter, unfortunately. There's just a lot. I just don't like using the platform. I think there's a lot of negativity on there. But I get it's useful. Obviously, it gets your content out. A lot of people obviously on there. A lot of promoters get to see it. I like Instagram a little bit more. I think it's a lot more where you can show what you can do, and it's not kind of blurred out by everybody else. So I know it's something I definitely need to get better of. I need to get more reels up. I need to get more content up. I'm hoping to get some done next weekend for this upcoming PPW show in October. Because there's an ongoing feud at the moment in time with me and Post Malone, which I'm very much looking forward to absolutely decimating him again.
Any person who's waited in the house, waiting for the post to arrive, and they're not turned up till 4 o'clock in the afternoon, can relate to that desire to smack a postman.
Every time I get that "we've missed you" card, it's like I'm just going to take it out on Posty.
Poor Posty. He's only trying to earn a living. But yeah, I think it's just I think social media is obviously it's a massive sort of thing now, but it is having the not the drive, but it's not even a confidence thing. But I was saying this to Jay, I suck at self-promotion. I suck trying to big myself up, which is what social media is. You're bigging yourself up. So for you guys, I mean, it's kind of important for me to get episodes out there. But for you guys, man, it's all about you've got to do it to get the bookings, and it'll help you get the bookings, kind of thing.
Yeah, it's one of them ones like you've got to show what you can do. You've got to be able to show promoters that you're worth putting on a card, because and putting content up is a key part of it. I know I'm lacking on that at the moment in time, so it's something I definitely need to get better of. But I just obviously going on to these shows and be able to put content out, whether it's just snippets of matches or promos that you want to cut, just showing who you are and what you're willing to do and where you want to be. And it's just a case of just going, hey, look, I am this character. I am the professional. I am better than everybody else on your roster. You should book me for this reason, and then show the reason why I should be booked on there, and just have hopefully great matches and build that content, build that clientele basically of promoters and guys you want to work with.
Well, that's it. I mean, from speaking to other people, it definitely seems to be like a networking game. You've got to get yourself out there. You've got to talk to people. You've got to go to shows. If you just to sit and watch the shows just so they know your face, or help put up the ring, or help in any way possible, kind of thing. I suppose it's just paying your dues. That would be the old school terminology for it. But yeah, it's just getting to know people, isn't it? So when a space does come up, your face is the first face they think of.
I think, and that's what I like doing. Like I like going to be able to go down to shows and help out with them. And during like the EBW days, like it was always a case of I was the first one in, last one out. And whether that be like tidying up, setting up the ring, tearing down the ring, making sure PA's done, doing the doors, doing the merch, and just being like, look, I'm useful here, but I want to wrestle. And it's like I'm happy to help set up rings. I'm happy to help with merch. I'm happy to help with tickets and whatnot. Just let me wrestle. Like that's all I want to do. That's what I want to do.
All I can say about Twitter is just do what I do. Get on, post your shit, get off. I don't sit there and scroll. I don't do anything. I literally post my stuff. I get off. I look at notifications to see if anybody's retweeted or commented on it. Then I get off again. I don't get sucked into the rabbit hole of any social media. That's the best advice I can give anyone who's doing stuff, is get your shit out there and then get off before you get sucked into the black hole.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to do that, man.
It's a rabbit hole, man. It's so easy to get lost in there. But I mean, you're halfway there. Even anybody uses TikTok. Talking about Pursuit. Pursuit's TikTok account is one of my favorite accounts. Nathan's just got that side of the stuff absolutely nailed. I mean, some of the TikToks are getting like over 1 million views. That must, that's so much exposure for you guys.
It's mental, and Nathan's mental with it. Like he will do it 6-7 times until it's right, and it's just a show of like how professional he is with it. That these things are getting 1 million views, 2 million views, or whatever. And it's showing guys what we can do there, and it's showing them in also a professional light, but also a funny light, because some of the stuff that we do on there, like we're doing crazy moves or stuff like that, but there's also the silly stuff where we're trying to do how many men can we get in a ring and do a roll or do a bump at the same time. And I'm not going to lie to you, doing that bump with 7 guys in a ring is not fun. That ring does not move.
No, I can imagine it being slightly more unforgiving than it would be normally, and definitely a shock to the system.
Definitely, man.
But well, man, you obviously, we're here to big you up more than anything else, which is obviously, fits the Valour character perfectly. Why would we not want to big up, the best there is? He's better than everybody else. What's the future hold for Valour? Are you is there more to be done with the character? Are you quite happy with where it is now, or do you kind of think there's still an evolution to go?
There's always an evolution to go. There's always room for improvement. There's always room where I can get better at stuff, whether that be in the ring, be the persona, be on the mic, be on comms. Like so long as I can get who I am over and tell the world who Valour is and why I'm the savior of professional wrestling, why I am the professional of professional wrestling, that nobody can touch me, then I'm going to keep doing it. And I'm just going to keep trying to get that message out there to as many people as possible until somebody listens, and I'll shout it and I'll scream it and I'll stand in the ring and I will break bones and I will bleed, and I don't care. I will put my body on the line to make sure that everybody knows exactly who Valour is.
Nice, good answer, good answer. But yeah, like I said, man, the character definitely stands out. I think it's just one of those ones where, like I say, you can kind of go anywhere, and you've got a ready-made story. You know, I just love the fact, you know, the character himself is like you sort of said, you know, he legitimately believes he's better than everybody else. You know, he's here to save professional wrestling. That automatically puts you in any ready-made feud in any promotion that you end up, you know, turning up in, kind of thing. And I think that deserves credit, man. You've created a character that's got this ready-made sort of drive, or, you know, yeah, it's just a ready-made feud for anyone. Like, you could go anywhere and be like, right, I'm going to piss everybody off.
I mean, I appreciate it, man, and that's what I want to do. To be honest, I want there to be just where I can come into a promotion, nobody know who I am, but just give me 2 minutes on a microphone. I want to have everybody booing and then know exactly why I'm here, and basically just to piss everybody off as possible. And that's what I love about being the Valour character. I get to go out there and I get to shout in people's face and just be a dick. I love it.
But obviously, yeah, I mean, it's not to be, you know, sniffed at. You know, when people are like, you know, working on characters, developing characters and stuff like that, I think sometimes things like that get overlooked. You know, I think a key aspect of a character is to automatically stand out, to automatically, you know, have a reason for being there. And if you've created this origin or this sort of like moral compass for a character that does that, I think that automatically, you know, straight away you've kind of leveled up.
I appreciate it. That's what I'm hoping for. That's what I'm really hoping. And like I said, I think, like I say, it's just networking and getting that out there and showing that's what I can bring, and that's who I am as a character, and that's what William Valour is. He is better than anybody out there. He's the most technical sound wrestler there is, and he'll prove it in the ring against anybody.
I was going to mention that because obviously, like, so, you know, everybody works, you know, a different way and everything like that. Obviously, we've talked about, you know, like Dean Malenko, and you've mentioned technical a few times. So obviously, anybody who doesn't know, anybody who, sidebar, if you don't know, go follow, pursue, subscribe on YouTube, watch, you know, the shows that they've got on YouTube. You've had numerous quality matches on there. But yeah, for anybody who doesn't know, or anybody who hasn't seen those, so basically, somebody who's watching you, they can sit down and expect a very solid technical match.
Yeah, absolutely. It's the style that I love, the style that I know, and the things that you get from my matches. You get solid technical wrestling, you get hard hitting strikes, and you get nasty submissions. And that is the three things that I aim to do. I aim to either pin you, knock you out, or submit you.
Nice.
And
There's three very good strategies, dude. I can't really find a fault with any one of those ones. Obviously, you know, you mentioned, you know, like Brody Lee, Aleister Black. Is anybody out there at the minute? Obviously, Malachi Black is still doing what he's doing. Is there anybody out there that you kind of find yourself drawn to, or you're watching for not inspiration, but for, you know, little bits of ideas here or there?
In all honesty, I watch a lot of old school wrestling, like yourself a little bit. Like I watch guys like Guerrero and how they move, in terms of how crisp they are, how technical they are, and then guys like Chris Hero, Zack Sabre Jr., Jonathan Gresham, again, both technically sound, move crisp, and have that technical but fast moving style that I love, and again, something that I look to bring in my matches as well. And looking at guys like Brody King in AEW at the moment in time, like the dude is a big dude. Like I'm not a skinny dude. I'm not a high flyer by any chance, but the dude's big. He can move fast and he can hit hard, and that's the style I like as well.
That's it. Yeah, it seems like the perfect sort of marriage between, because normally your technical guys are your smaller guys. You know, you're more sort of, they're making up for a lack of height or lack of size by being very technically sound. But then yeah, you got your Brody King, and if you can find that sort of middle ground between the two styles, that's a force to be reckoned with, kind of thing.
Yeah, I think that's where it's come from. Like the technical side of stuff that I love doing, where I can wear down my opponent and grind them down, and then when it comes to using my finish as it is, which is just as I always proclaim, the hardest lariat in PPW, then it's lights out. So having that style that I can grind you down or I can knock you out, it's one of the two.
Never underestimate the power of a good close. I hate JBL, but I love the clothesline from hell. I would always pop. I liked Bradshaw. Bradshaw in the APA was boss. His clothesline, awesome. Obviously, same for JBL, but just a good clothesline, like say JBL, Stan Hansen. It's just a very simple move, but it's devastating.
Yeah, Stan Hansen lines. I do watch like compilations on YouTube where his lariats and how he does them, and same with JBL. Like, I can't say anything about the dude, but the dude had a mean lariat and it looks sick. And then looking at guys like Brody Lee, who did the discus lariat, and anybody that's throwing them out there, like, it's just how can do it? How can I make it better? How can I make it look stiffer? How can I make it look even more mean and menacing, and just adapt it to my own style?
I suppose as well, like, it's tweaking it as well. You know, how can you? Because it's quite a good move to signpost so people know it's coming. But if you could put a spin on it where it can kind of come out of nowhere every now and again, it's like, oh shit! Like, I don't know, probably not the most powerful one, but the DDP, where you used to like somebody, you go to kick somebody, catch his leg spinning around, and then bop, you know, clotheslines out of nowhere kind of thing.
Yeah, that was a good one as well. I always loved the one that I always loved, and it always seems somewhat mythical because I have no idea still how he does it. Is Nigel McGuinness's when he does that rebound lariat through the rope, and I have no idea how he does it. I've tried it in the ring, and I mess it up every time. But it's just one of the ones that's just like, I don't know how he does it, but it looks sickening.
That's the holy grail. At some point, you will get that clothesline, and then that'll be it. You know, evolution complete. As soon as you've done that clothesline, you know, you've mastered it. You're like glow and float off the air or something. It'll be like, yes, you've truly become Valor.
Oh.
But yeah, I just think, again, obviously in this day and age of, you know, the high flying, this, that, and the other, I think there's a lot to be said for just simple moves that look effective. I know friend of the show, RJ Singh down south, the DDT king. You know, he's on a mission to bring the DDT back as a finisher kind of thing. And I think, yeah, you know, clotheslines and stuff like that are just moves which I should be respected.
Absolutely simple but effective, and that's what it is. Like, you look at like the great finishers back in the day. You had Hogan's leg drop, you had Warrior's splash, and there were simple moves to do. And you've got Stan Hansen, who just threw the wickedest clothesline all throughout Japan, and it was respected and feared because it was just that devastating. And doing simple moves like Jake Snake's DDT, like, that is, if not the most iconic move ever. And sometimes it does get taken for granted at how devastating of a move it is. And RJ Singh is right. Like, he should be bringing that back. He should be telling everybody how that is the finisher of finishers.
That's it. But again, it just helps with matches. If you've got that one move, you know, that you're looking to hit, you can build matches around that. You can make stories out of it. You know, the psychology of a match can just be around that one move, or, you know, trying to hit it.
Yeah, man. It's always one of the ones, like, you can play it in different ways. You can always tease it. You can always see that it's coming or it's never going to get there, and you just hit it out of nowhere. And it's a match changer. It's a game changer. It's a match ender. And having that something so simple that you can hit anyway is just brilliant. That it's one of them ones, like, you caught slipping, you're done.
Yeah, man, I love that. I love, like I say, I love the simplicity. I think that's the thing about wrestling. You know, I love the simplicity of some things, but I love the overcomplicated tomfoolery, you know, of other bits, the gaga, just the whole pantomime of it all. And again, it just comes back to characters for me. You know, that's why it's really good to see like a diverse roster of talent, of characters. And again, I just think that's coming back more now as well. We went through a long time where everybody was just kind of themselves, but yeah, characters are definitely, I think, on the comeback.
Yeah, I think that's what it is, and that's just the way of evolution it is in wrestling. Like, I think it was a case of like everybody was themselves, everybody was just doing massive spots, and then it's come down to more being into character work, which you need that variety on shows. Absolutely, like you can't just have technical match after technical match, or just having spot fest after spot fest, which fantastic to watch. Don't get me wrong. I wish I could do it myself, but like you'd need that variety on matches. You want to be able to lead a crowd into different emotions, and having different characters can do that. They can make them terrified. They can make them laugh. They can make them hate or love them. It's just the way the character is.
So, I mean, when you got into wrestling, then did you get into it thinking, right, I'm gonna, be sort of or did you kind of go into it as a completely clean slate, or did you go in expecting just to be yourself, turned up to 11, and then kind of detoured into a character, or did you go into it thinking from the get-go, right, I've got this character in mind?
I actually didn't think about a character in mind when I first started, to be honest. It was just more of a case of like, I just want to get in and do this. Like, I just want to get in and wrestle. And thinking about like the character stuff, like going down the Saviour route and having that cultish feeling, and coming out to ominous music, and proclaiming I can save professional wrestling, I can save the wrestling masses, and then having that transpire into I can be the most professional wrestler in the world, and I can save professional wrestling by being better than everybody else. That never crossed my mind. That's just how evolution started with it. It just grew and grew and grew. And it was just one of them ones, just like, I don't know where it came from. I don't know how it was. Everybody said to me, like, it's just you turned up to 11. I was like, but the William Valour character is just the fact is it's the opposite of me turned up to 11. Like, I'm a shy guy. I don't really talk about myself. I don't normally like being in the spotlight, but as William Valour, like, I want it. I want that spotlight. I want everybody to see how good I am. And that's just the opposite of me turned up to 11. I want to be the most hated person in that ring, and I want you to boo me as much as possible, and I will do everything in my power to make sure that you hate me. And that's just how it is. That's how just the characters evolved. It's just like, well, being me is not very exciting at the moment in time. So what's the opposite of me turned up to 11? Boom, William Valour.
Nice. Well, yeah. Well, obviously, then, so it is totally. It's not like it's, yeah, as you said, there's no aspect of you in there, so it's total character sort of work. How easy do you find it then to flick that switch? Is it like just moments before the curtain, or are you there for like hours beforehand? Getting yourself psyched up. Is there an item of clothing you can put on to just make that switch?
I think it's more of it's a little thing. So I have my always like my item of clothing, which is behind me right here, which is one of them ones that got made for me. And the gear that I put on, and I kind of have like a little ritual before I go out. So I'll make sure obviously everything's planned. I make sure I know what I'm doing. And then just as my music hits, like I'm behind the curtain, psyching myself up, and it's just one of those like I'm beating on my chest, or I'm just jumping up and down, just making sure like as soon as I go out that ring, the switch is hit. I'm a different person, and for 8 to 15 minutes, I'm just somebody else.
That's it, because you generally sort of like, speaking to other people like this, people who wrestle with a mask on, it's easy, because they can kind of put the mask on and they're suddenly that person because they've got a mask on. Or speaks like Chucky Thunder ages ago, and he said he's got like this pink furry coat and sunglasses. As soon as they go on, gosh, it's Chucky Thunder. And I was talking to Felicia. She says she's that into the character now. All she has to do is like a few twitches, and then she's Felicia. So yeah, it's vary for different people, kind of thing. So I'm always interested to sort of see, like, yeah, is it a switch? Does it take a lot of preparation, or?
It's a switch. Literally, I have my own little ritual, which is like I'll say like a little prayer. I'll beat on the chest. As soon as that music hits, I'm like, right, let's effing go. Let's do this. Like I'm going out there and being the best heel possible. I'm having the best match possible. And just as soon as that music hits, it's just I'm a different person.
So more importantly, when do you go back to being yourself? Is it literally as soon as you get back through the curtain, or do you have to walk around for half an hour just to kind of like get the adrenaline down?
Usually when I'm back through the curtain, like I'm making sure like, right, did everything go right? Did everything go right? It's like, did I miss anything? And I'm still kind of like just pumped up a little bit. I'm still jumping up and down. And it's like, right, just make sure everything's good. Everybody's all right. We'll talk about it. And it's like, right, take a breath, take my gear off, get into some normal clothes, chill out for a little bit, probably down a monster. I'm obsessed with this stuff. And then just go out and watch wrestling. I think it's just that cool down moment, making sure everything flowed normally, and then just back to being a normal person again.
That to me then sounds like, yeah, literally as soon as you get through the curtain, because your first thought is was everything all right? You know, did this, and go. So that's you, man. That's 100% you. So it just, yeah, it's like, it's, you know, once the match is over, your mentality switches back. It becomes more of, was that, instead of being obviously the character move, like that's awesome. I don't need to ask. I know that's great. I'm amazing. But yeah, as soon as you get through that curtain, you're you again, and obviously you're aware of like, yeah, you know, was that any good? You know, this, that, and the other.
It's one of the ones like I think as soon as I like, even when I'm leaving the ring or anything like that, still in character, still want to be that person, still want to be hated until I'm back through the curtain, until nobody can see me. And then as soon as I'm back there, it's like, okay, let's flick the switch off. Let's get some feedback. Let's make sure what I did right. Let's make sure what I could do better, and then just like reflect on it all, go through it, and then just take it on board and back to being Liam again.
Well, obviously, you know, you're on about William Valour being the best professional there is. You mentioned him earlier. Nathan Cruz is going to be dropping by soon. If he hasn't already, I think it's coming up, isn't it? Where, so obviously, you know, he used to go by the name The Professional, Nathan Cruz. So yeah, I think you two could have some words on.
We'll have some words. We'll have to maybe see if we can work a match about who gets to keep the title. Right yourself. I'll get myself down to NGW.
But that's what I mean. That fits the whole. Just from the character, you know, declaring yourself the best professional, you know, in the business. So you're just giving the perfect example there, where you could literally, you've got a ready-made match with Nathan Cruz, for example. So that to me, that's boss. But yeah, I think obviously when Nathan turns up, I've had the pleasure of speaking to him before. You know, I followed his career. The dude's awesome, and from people I know that have had seminars with him in the past, you're just going to end up being like a sponge, man. There's just going to be so much stuff for you to absorb.
Yeah, man, I'm looking forward to it. I'm trying to get down to as many coach sessions at PPW that there is. So I know Nathan's coming down. Excuse me, I definitely want to be on that one. I know obviously like Kid Lycos is going to be taking over at some point. Leon Slater's going to be doing a session. So just learning from these guys who's been in the game so many years and been up and down country, been everywhere. Like I said, I just want to be a sponge, take it all in, and then maybe even wrestle Nathan for that title.
Yes, do it. I want to see that as a future match at some point for the professional mantle, and then that's it. It's done. He can go back to being the show stealer or the showman or whatever he was, you know, prior to the professional. It's fine. He's got backup plans. You know, he'll be all right if you know, when he loses, it's not a problem. But yeah, obviously you mentioned like Leon Slater taking a coaching class there, kind of thing. But that's obviously that, given the level like obviously Leon's at the minute, but he is still one of you guys. It's kind of going to be a bit. Is it not going to be weird, sort of him being on the other side of the class?
I don't think it'll be weird, to be honest. Like he is still one of, like I'd say one of us. He's still like a trainee, but the guy has been doing it. Yeah. I don't know how old is he now, 18, something like that. So he's been doing it 8 years. Like he's been. I know it's mental. It's thinking that I'm 13, I'm like nearly double his age. And just he knows how to captivate an audience in the ring, whether that be the way that he sells, whether the way that he works a crowd, whether the high flying that he does. And I've watched his matches, and you can see how he builds it in his mind and the way and how he wants it to go, and just so having that side of stuff as well being taught to me and taking it on board, it's just another layer that I want to be able to progress in, another layer that I can give to William Valour and make him better.
But again, it's another example of, I think, sort of just a family unity when you go training kind of thing. It's like, you know, one day it can be at this side of the table, so to speak, and then another day they can be at this side of the table. But you know, it's just, it feels natural either way. You know, you're either being taught stuff by him, or, you know, he's taking bumps with you, you know, every other day kind of thing. Yeah, I kind of had that. I worded that better in my head than it came out, so apologies. But it just kind of feels like, yeah, everybody's supporting everybody else. That was my point. You know, he's one of you guys, but then he can also help teach you guys because you're all learning from each other.
Absolutely. And like you said, like there's there's guys that come down there, and we all do learn from each other, whether that be if it's a coach session or not. It might just be a case of like somebody pull you aside and say, hey, look, you might just want to try this a little bit differently, or maybe try this move set in your arsenal, or maybe try and do this with your shine and whatnot. And it's just one of them ones, like there's not really any egos there or anything like that. It's just everybody trying to help everybody.
That's awesome. Obviously, you know, you've got First Pursuit coming up, 23rd of September. You guys pumped for that? It's going to be like the first show in front of the general public, the First Pursuit show, you know, open doors. Yeah, man, you guys getting hyped for it?
Yeah, man, like it's one of the big ones. Like they've been on about it for a while, and for this to be like the first paid show of PPW, it's just going to be mental how different it will be. Like, cause with the in-house shows that we do, obviously we get guys down, we sit in the crowd ourselves, and we get friends and families to come down and watch and whatnot. But to have a full crowd, and we've packed out the PPW facility before with like Spectrum and Rise before, and it's just a different atmosphere, absolutely different. So for that to go down in the matches that I announced already, like I'm pumped, man. It's going to look good.
Awesome. Yeah, and, you know, fully deserved for you guys. I think, you know, gives you a chance to shine. Like I said, the shows that you're putting on, that, you know, are on YouTube, as I said earlier, go subscribe on YouTube. The last one that was on was awesome. The main event was banging, like I said, Kemper versus Music Man. But yeah, I just loved the fact that you could kind of see you guys sat around the ring. It was still like a really good atmosphere. And, you know, everybody's cheering and booing as they should be, kind of thing.
It all comes out to, we're all just fans, really. Like we might be in this game, like we do this thing called wrestling, but end of the day, we're all just fans, just watching and seeing somebody that you train with in there killing it and having a banger of a match. Like it just makes it just a little bit more different, a little bit more special, and yeah, it's brilliant.
Dude. So right, I'll just start wrapping up because I've kept you on for ages. But so if we are looking at the next 12 months for William Valour, have you got boxes to be ticked? What do you want to get done over the next 12 months?
Absolutely. I've always got boxes ticked. I'm always making more boxes for different promotions I want to be in, different guys I want to wrestle, different stuff I want to do. And it's all just about having small goals. So like I want to definitely have this feud with Post Malone. I want to get that and just have a banger with him. I want to be able to win that PPW title. I want to get myself over to Tidal. I want to get myself over to Rise and do some matches on Rise. I want to wrestle guys like B.A. Rose, Jet Marshall, Leon Slater, Nathan Black. Just I've got a list so big of boxes I want to take. But for this year and for the next 12 months, definitely get myself into at least 3 different companies, wrestle guys I've never wrestled before, and just learn from them, and even go over to a different country.
Cool.
Oh,
Maybe
I'd love to. I would absolutely love to. It would be the dream, man. Absolutely love to do that. Maybe even get to Germany and do some training with the WXW guys.
Yeah, that's a damn good list, man. And honestly, I don't see why those boxes will not be ticked in 12 months' time. I think the momentum's there. Just ride the wave. I think you're gonna smash it. And I'll just put this out there as well. There's a guy called Sean Only in True Grit who keeps bad mouthing the new generation of talent, and they're just still looking for somebody to just randomly turn up and pin him or kick his ass. So there's a few guys out there that I can think of, and I'll definitely put your name in the top 5 for maybe kicking Sean Only's ass.
That sounds good to me, man. I'd love to have it.
Well, last match he put up 5K as well, so it could be nice payday for you as well.
Absolutely, man. That sounds good to me. Let's get it done.
Dude, I won't say plug your Twitter, but plug your Insta, get your stuff out there. Where can people come and see the reels and see what you do?
So I'm on Facebook, William Valour Pro Wrestler, Instagram, William_Valour_PW. All my reels are on there, all my stories and Instagram posts are on there. Check out also Sacred Circle Designs as well. This Sacred Circle on Instagram. They're the ones who do the gear for myself and a lot of guys in British wrestling at the minute in time. So they're just fantastic. Go check them out.
Awesome. Obviously, if you follow Work the Left Side, I will tag Mr Valour in all the posts regarding this anyway. So you can click on them, go follow, and obviously hit subscribe, do the normal social media stuff after you've enjoyed and watched this video. Thank you for watching, and yeah, dude, it's been an actual pleasure. Thank you so much for talking. It's just been nice just to chat wrestling. That's what it's all about.
It's been great, man. I honestly appreciate you having me on here. I've really enjoyed it. Thank you very much.
Not a problem, dude.